All right, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am in studio today with the Gritty Broman.
What's up, guys?
And today's episode is with Valkyrie Archery, Valkyrie Archery Systems, Broadhead Delivery Systems.
I don't know.
It's with Brent
Hahn
Hahn.
corrects you.
With Brent Hahn from Valkyrie Arrows. We were at the Hahn Expo. We have a number of episodes from Brent, or from the Hunt. We have a number of episodes from the Hunt Expo.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to get into that. We interviewed Ozcut broadheads. My buddy Adam Greentree has been using those. I like the design of those. We also interviewed Bill with Iron Will broadheads at the Hunt Expo. So we'll be releasing Valkyrie, Ozcut, and Iron Will. All great heads. All those guys are trying to make something pretty cool. And I think they're a cut above the rest. I like the concepts behind each of those designs. Everybody knows I love the Valkyrie system, but I'm a big fan of the others as well. They each have their pros and cons. I'd say Valkyrie, it's price. I hope you find it useful. So we're going to get into that. We just kind of went and did a brief interview with each of them, each of the owners and designers of those heads at the show.
Yeah, we had a little mobile setup, walked over to their booths and kind of ambushed them. Didn't really tell them we were coming over. They weren't really prepared for anything, so we kind of just got a quick elevator pitch from all of them. They all did really good.
Yep. And if you watch it on YouTube, it's kind of cool because you can actually see what
Brent's
we're talking
got all
about.
of his broadheads on a table. He picks each one up, shows you the insert, shows you the arrows,
how he sharpens them, how he
which is scary.
Yeah.
Watching him put the jag wax on, dude, my heart was pumping. I was like, his fingers forfeit. It's gone.
So, and the Aussie guys from Ozcut are
They're a little too good looking.
Yeah, they're just a little.
I haven't met an ugly Australian yet. I asked them at the movie night. They were coming by across from me, and I said, "Do ugly Australians exist?" And need both of them in unison without missing a beat. No, and kept walking.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna look for those in the next coming days. Before we get into that, I want to read a couple of comments.
Why is that, Brian?
Get some things off my chest. There are some things that irritate me, and this is one of them. We get comments, positive and negative, that come through, and Brent and I, on occasion, we kind of go through some of those comments. Today's comment irritated me, and it is from Jesse Hunts. And Jesse left me a comment. I'm just going to read it to you.
Left you an iTunes comment.
iTunes, which,
the one place where comments semi-matter.
Yeah, it reads like this. I got 2 stars out of 5 from Jesse. It says, not impressed. I have listened to the podcast for roughly 2 years now and loved it at first as you continue to have gotten further and further from the idea, in my opinion. I understand this podcast is yours and you should do what you want with it. But please, stop giving tech advice, Brian. You are nowhere near knowledgeable enough to be recommending arrow setups or usages of certain releases. Please stop with the tech advice. Talk about hunts and get people who are knowledgeable with tech on the podcast. You mean like Brent Hahn? But for now, I'm unsubscribing and unfollowing as I have been seeing you regurgitate things you have heard and not do it with justice needed. You are going to create huge issues for people down the road. Good luck, Jesse. Okay, the first thing that comes to mind is I don't care what Jesse says. It's fine, Jesse. Go change the channel, unfollow, go somewhere else. What bothers me is you give me 2 stars. 2 stars out of 5 after you just said you listened to the podcast for 2 years. And you get information about hunts, you get information about whatever, and you walk away and go, yeah, but I don't like what you say about broadhead or arrows, and I don't like what you say about releases, so 2 stars, I'm out. It's like,
you put out like 300 podcasts in the last 2 years.
To me, it's just, it's free content. It's free. I gave you free content for 2 years, and then you disagree with me, or you just don't like me, whatever, and you give me 2 stars and walk away. I just find it so irritating. It's just this entitlement generation that there's no gratitude, none, 0 gratitude for 2 years of take, free. And then 2 stars, sucker. And then he's out. It's just, I don't know. It irritates me. As far as, I've said this before on an earlier podcast, we can agree to disagree. And that's important in society, especially today. We should be able to agree to disagree. We don't have to have the same opinions on everything.
I don't know why that is. That for some reason, I think it has to do with politics.
Well, it's like disagreement is no excuse for disengagement.
Mm-hmm.
That was on that conservation podcast when Jordan went to Washington, D.C.
That's the name of the podcast, too.
Yeah, and so I agree with that. Disagreement does not mean disengagement. It's like, I don't agree with your tech information, so I'm out. And again, I'm okay if you're out. I just don't like you stab me in the back as you go with 2 stars. And the other thing, too, is it's called learning, not regurgitating facts you don't understand. It's called learning. You learn what front of center is. You learn how an arrow is built. You learn about broadheads, how they perform by using them. You learn about a release and what works. I'm not regurgitating stuff I don't understand. I'm grasping the concepts, growing as a person. Where I am today compared to where I was 5 years ago, when it comes to archery and gear and tech and outdoors and hunting, completely different. You grow over time. At the same time, I never claimed to be Levi Morgan or Tim Gillingham. Like, I'm Brian Call. I use what I know. And when I talk about a release or I talk about an arrow, I don't necessarily say, you should use it this way. I say, this is how I use it. Take it or leave it. So that's it for my rant. Jesse Hunt's irritates me, but he's gone. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Brent, what is the other? There's a comment that got left in contrast to this. Let's read that one.
This is from Nick. I've been watching your YouTube videos for approximately a year. It was shortly after I began bow hunting. I picked up a plethora of information from you and your guests during this time. For that, I wanted to say thank you. It's helped a lot. As stupid as this may sound, I've seen a forum thread about you, Aaron, and basically people's opinions somewhat supported by facts and the behind-the-scenes politics of your podcast. Speaking of your sponsors, Aaron, and you going different ways, and what others feel about the direction Gritty Bowman podcast has gone. This somehow skewed my opinion of your show, and even though I kept watching, these things were now on my mind. That wasn't until today when I watched this episode I had never seen, and it reminded me that off-camera, you're a normal guy with a heart, and all that BS aside, you're just trying to put out good content with useful information and advice for people. I can take it or leave it, as you say, and you're absolutely right. I can't really describe exactly what this video did, besides it changed my view of you in a positive way. As far as I know, your wife has beat the cancer. Congratulations to her for being so strong and you as well. I wish your family a happy, healthy life. Thank you for sharing this snippet of your life outside of hunting and the typical GB content. I appreciate what you're doing. Keep up the good work, Brian.
Thank you, Nick. For those that don't know what Nick's talking about, I made a movie about my wife's battle with cancer. It's called Suzanne. It's kind of hidden in the depths of YouTube on Gritty Bowman.
Yeah, you kind of have to type in Suzanne to find it.
Or Gritty Suzanne or something. I didn't, for people who followed from from a ways back, that they're aware of the film, and it's a very personal film, and it's not, it has some hunting in it, but it's not really about hunting. It's about life. I feel awkward it's a personal film, so it's hard to,
It's not one that you've ever really pushed or advertised very well. You pretty much uploaded it and it's been word of mouth.
Well, Brent, you battled cancer. You had leukemia, and you battled cancer as a young kid, and I was the one that took you to the hospital a lot.
Fun times.
Yeah. I'm floating off into oblivion. I'm floating into oblivion.
And I might have been. You don't know. You weren't there, and you weren't under the influence.
I was there. Brent was, what were you, 5?
No, I got diagnosed 2 weeks before I turned 7. So most of the hardcore stuff was from when I was like 7 to 9.
Okay, so
And
you
then
were
after that,
7.
it was pretty. The last year was not a big deal.
So Brent was going. It was at one of his first appointments. My mom just couldn't take you because she was too emotional. Well, and what happened is they had to give him some morphine before they did the.
It was like
something. It was going in your catheter in his chest, and he's like 7 years old. And I take him to the hospital because he didn't cry as much with me or wimp out. And mom was a softie, so I'm like, come on. And you get there, and I remember she was injecting you with the stuff, and the nurse went super fast.
Oh,
she didn't.
They called it. It was like they called it something about milk. It was like night milk or something because the stuff in the syringe was like white, like a milk.
Right, and it was supposed to go in real slow, and then you would just slowly feel the effects.
Mm-hmm.
But she just was like, and shot him up with this drug, and Brent's in the chair, and he's like, oh my gosh, and he started screaming, I'm floating away, and he's totally high. He's like, I'm floating off into oblivion, and I run behind Brent, and I grab him by the head in this
it felt
chair.
like my head was floating off of my body.
Right, and I grab his head, and I'm like, I got you, you're not going anywhere. And he's like, hold on, okay. I'm like, hold on, brother, I got you, I got your head, and I'm holding you down. It's just ridiculous, but in your mind, you were stoned.
Oh, dude, my head
You
was
were stoned.
separating from my body. It felt like it was rising up.
So I'm like,
And the doctor came in. He was not super thrilled with the nurse.
No, he was like, and then you started to calm down. And what I thought was so funny is you're 7 years old and you use the words, I'm floating off into oblivion. What kid, like, what a descriptive statement.
Thank you.
Anyway, cancer is a tough thing. You battled through it. Suzanne did, and I've seen it affect so many friends and people we love. And I recorded the journey, and I made a film out of it best I could with my abilities. And this is an older film. I wanted to be as real as possible. Like I want everything with Gritty to be. Anyway, I appreciate Nick's email because the transition from leaving Colorado and doing less with Aaron Snyder, him going his direction and starting the Cafaro cast, that was a rough transition. It didn't help when Aaron started his first episode and stated that one of the reasons he needed to start his own show was because he felt that Gritty Bowman was over-sponsored and that I had to feed my family and therefore I had to sell out, basically, in so many words. And he was above that. Now, that could be a version for Aaron. My reasons for going the direction I did had nothing to do with sponsorships, and to me, and people who know, I've never done any commercials on Gritty Bowman. I've never
ever
done the sponsorship thing much. I have 3 or 4 hardcore partners. I use their gear, and that's it. And as far as my approach to all this, when Aaron and I parted ways, was I wish the best for Aaron. And he's done well, and I'm happy for him. I went my way, and we're still friends, and I value that. That's important to me. But we are also very different people. It's not easy when you have so many different approaches to life and ideas to get along. I'm glad we're friends like we are, as much as we are, because we're just that different.
You guys are in a great place right now.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, I feel like we are. And I wish Aaron the utmost success. He was just on the show a little bit ago.
A couple times.
And I follow along, and he still makes me laugh like he always has. And I learn a lot listening to Aaron. So, but I appreciate Nick. Like I said, it was a bumpy, departure. But I'm not one to air dirty laundry or throw someone, to trash talk about someone. I just like to let my work and my actions and how I am speak for itself. I feel like that one guy that wrote in a couple weeks ago, he said, be careful as you talk about negative comments or negative reviews, because negativity can spread like a bad yeast infection.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And that's why, as we talk about it, I feel it's important to stand up against things you disagree with. And like I said, it's okay. We can agree to disagree.
Especially in today, the world's getting smaller. You can reach out to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Mhm.
You could tweet at him, and there's a chance he'll tweet back.
Yeah.
That was not the case. We did not have access to people the way that we used to, and people are not used to this very thin layer between you and someone else.
Yeah.
And people are still
and
adjusting to that.
And when you're talking to a computer, it's totally different.
100%.
Yeah. I got a comment on Instagram a couple days ago that said Cameron Haynes was gay and a lot of other stuff about Cam. And I just went on the 5K run with him, hung out with Cam. I like Cam.
Mm-hmm.
I like Cam a lot. Some guy gets on there and says all these things and whatever, his opinion. Swamp Ninja 2.0. But then he started to be really belligerent and mean, and then I look at his account and it's anonymous and it's private and there's nothing there and you don't know anything about him, and he just goes on about all these hateful things and then and I'm like, well, I'll just block and delete him. But before that happens, I gotta say something,
And I think that's important. I think that we don't do that enough.
I mean, I could block and delete, but I'm pretty direct. And so I just wrote back and said, you're weak. You're weak.
Oh.
Like, put your name on it. Own it. Stop being anonymous. Then he's like, where do you live, tough guy? I'll meet you. I'll show you who's weak. I'm like, what are you, 12? Are we meeting at the flagpole after school? Like, this is silly. And then he wanted to beat me up. I'm like, it's just so ridiculous. But I don't like ignoring it either. So every now and then, you and I will address it, but we won't dwell on it because it's like a bad yeast infection.
Amen.
I hope you enjoy this episode with Valkyrie. I love the broadheads and the arrow builds. I think it's really beneficial to hear it from Brent Hahn. Like I said, there'll be some shows with Ozcut, some shows with Iron Will. I'm going to shoot all 3 heads this year, see how each one stacks up. They each have their pros and cons. I hope you get some value out of these broadhead discussions.
Yeah.
And you find something that really works for you. There's a couple things that are consistent across the board with each of these things, and that's that they're all fixed blade. They can all be sharpened to some extent, some better than others, and reused. And I like that. There's nothing gimmicky about it. It's not expandable. They all fly well, and they're heavy.
And just so people know, these were all shot at the Hunt Expo. There's a lot of people walking around. The audio might come off a little fuzzy. We did the best that we could.
Yeah, we did.
Just a heads up.
Bear with us. The Hunt Expo is really loud.
There's thousands of people walking
doing
around.
it in the booth. I feel like the sound we captured was pretty dang good considering
Pretty good.
that. So yeah, bear with that as you listen to these Hunt Expo shows. And
Stay gritty.
Stay gritty. Hi folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host Brian Call. I'm here with my brother, the Gritty Broman, and Brent Hahn from Valkyrie Archery, and we're at the Western Hunt Expo.
Here we are.
How you doing, Brent?
Doing good. Doing good.
How are the Valkyrie arrows going?
Valkyrie, well, it's an it's a broadhead delivery system. So yeah, we're doing pretty good. Introducing people to the new cons. It's not really that new, but introducing people to our arrows and our weight forward, moderate weight delivery system.
It's a lot of death right here on the table.
Got a lot of death.
For those that are listening, we're filming the broadheads here on the table.
A lot of bones going to be busted this year.
They worked for me.
So we've been having pretty good, enjoying it here. A lot of good folks, a lot of neat stuff.
So since you were on the podcast last, what's new?
Well, what's new is we've actually introduced the short jags, a little bit shorter profile broadhead. A lot of guys were wondering, even guys that knew our product were like, when are you going to make a compound broadhead? I'm like, we have been for years, but we shortened them up a little bit. We came out with the standard 150 grain, standard thread, short, we call it the short B, the short blood eagle.
Yep.
And the solid comes in a 175 grain.
And those work on
standard arrows.
Arrow?
So if you run an FMJs with the hidden insert or something like that, you can screw these right in. Or any of the standard diameter shafting with standard components.
So people can use your broadheads.
Yeah, you can go with the 150 short B, the 175 short B, and a solid. And we'd still have all the standard Blood Eagle broadheads all the way up to 250. So, but then the new stuff we have on the center pin side, we have the 160, the 180 short jag, and then we have the new, not even out yet. This is a 210 short jag.
Jeez.
So if guys want the shorter profile, you're still getting just about all the benefits of the Jagger Broadhead in a little shorter profile. It'll fit a lot better in the quivers.
So why the shorter profile? Like why would a guy want that?
Some guys think it might fly a little better at extreme ranges just because there's a little bit less surface area.
Yeah.
The only thing you're sacrificing with the short jag would be a little bit of heavy bone breach. Like if you hit the knuckle and the front shoulder of an elk, you might have a little exposure there with that short tip. With our full-size Jagger Broadhead, our original design, that's pretty much you're maximizing your lethality on almost every hit you can make. So, but I got to say, the performance of the short jag has been exceptionally phenomenal, even with some people we know shooting them out of recurves. When I told them, like, those were designed for compound bows, but they work really well out of recurves too with the heavier weight arrow. Heavier weight overall arrow weight and heavy bows.
So I know you built these with the center pin.
Yep.
You know, and here, if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see, you know, that center pin adds so much stability to this weak part on the arrow where it can break right behind the broadhead.
On micro diameter shafting, you need some way to attach. We tried for a long time. We've been over this before, but to attach the old school technology to a modern day shafting, there's just no way to do it. I mean, even on outsert, you're screwing it in clear out here off the end of the shaft, creating a huge amount of leverage. Those things snap right behind the outsert all the time.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. But I knew the lightweight microdiameter platform allows you to shoot a high FOC arrow in a moderate weight platform, so that for an average guy like shooting a 70-pound bow, 28, 29-inch draw, you're looking at an arrow 19 to 20% FOC at overall arrow weights between 450 and 480. So it allows you to keep your feet per second up, your speed. Not that we look at that a lot, but you can still get 80 to 100 yards on your sight tape or your pins, maximize your FOC and your structural integrity up front, coupled with the broadhead design, gives you pretty much the most accurate, most lethal combo you can get in a moderate weight platform. I mean, it's almost, you can't do it any other way. So using there's other ways you can do it with the larger diameter shaftings and get close to what this is, but this is pretty much the top end for accuracy and lethality for hunting conditions.
Do you have concerns with these? I mean, if you're going to use these, do you recommend the bigger diameter arrow shafts then, or what?
No,
what do you think?
These were designed for guys that already have arrows built and want to just improve their broadhead performance, getting two-blade penetration and bone splitting with a three-blade head. I mean, that's when we,
I said that a long time ago. I was like, if you give me something that I want your broadhead, whether I'm shooting Valkyrie, the whole system or not.
So when our original broadhead was a two-blade design, but once we tested this broadhead, we scrapped the two-blade because we're getting the two-blade penetration with and bone splitting ability of the single bevel in it, but we have three blades cutting soft tissue. It's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And the accuracy is off the charts. I mean, I don't think there's a two-blade out there that can compare with a fixed blade with the accuracy and design of our three-blade head. So it was kind of a win-win. In fact, when we first designed it, I couldn't believe there wasn't a head on the market that combines, the mechanical advantage, I'm going to get into the weeds a little, of a two-blade. This has the front end has a mechanical advantage of a 3-to-1 ratio two-blade in a three-blade head, but that's why it's a lot narrower. But that's why this angle's here on the end. Mm-hmm. I mean, it looks really wicked and cool too, but that's actually built in there for that reason. That's the mechanical advantage of the front. That gets you in the door. And then the way the three blades act, when we sweep out the blade angle, that acts as a bone splitter like crazy. I mean, this splits bones into shrapnel.
It's insane. It just blows up bones like a gun.
It does. And then the tip, I built everything into this, and the tip section is such that it has the lowest hide breach in the industry, period. There's nothing that you can stick in through hide that'll go in easier than that. We shaped it just enough so that it won't bend or break on impact with green bones on game animals.
Yep.
That would be the asterisk. Green bones on game animals, not rocks or concrete. But
we can shoot into rocks or concrete.
You can shoot it in there, but we built this. Because every time you build them stronger and stouter, you're sacrificing something. We built them till they're strong enough because we don't want any bending or breaking on contact with green bone. So we shaped the tip just to the point where we weren't getting any bending or breaking on green. We actually use elk bones.
Yeah.
So moo cow bones are a little denser, a little harder, but
they're unreal, man.
They're unreal, and we built them from the tip all the way. We built the broadhead. Then we built the delivery system behind it to maximize our accuracy and lethality in the greatest amount of circumstances you can encounter in the worst case scenario, the most hits you can make on an animal.
So tell me the pros between titanium and the steel.
We use titanium in the pins on the lighter models, 200 and down, just to save weight, and to maintain all the steel and everything we need in the front end for the structural integrity, because we guarantee zero impact failure. So we couldn't do that with steel pins, so we went to the titanium. In fact, the strength of that titanium pin has been kind of astonishing, because most guys think titanium is like the secret metal that it's super expensive, but it's only twice as strong as aluminum. That's what most guys don't know. But it's good. The steel pins are better, but they weigh more. And then from 225 and up, we use all steel pins. Our heads are hardened to 60 to 61 Rockwell, because we want them to stay sharp all the way through. Like when you get in the door, you come through the hide and hair, you breach some shoulder bone. Almost all other heads, especially store-bought ones, are going to be dull by the time they get to the vitals. Ours stays sharp through the hide, through the hair. Even if you got a mudded up bull, it's going to maintain its sharpness all the way through. So when you get to the goodies, it's still doing its job. And most times, like you've had experience where they're still sharp coming when you bust bones on the offside.
Oh, yeah.
And go out the back and they're still shaving hair. So, so we just wanted to use the best possible, hardest, best edge, 60 to 61 Rockwell, and they maintain sharpness through all the way out the other side. So our Blood Eagles are a little bit softer. They only stay through to the sharp all the way through to the other side. They're about 54 to 56 Rockwell.
Okay.
But they're a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how are those Blood Eagles holding up?
The Blood Eagles are doing awesome. I mean, with the old school, but for standard arrows like Axis arrows or Axis arrows with the hidden insert and some of the aftermarket sleeves is like really close second best to our structural integrity up front. And they make a great head. Just the mechanical advantage of these and their design for bone breach and hardness is pretty much unmatched in the industry. For a store-bought, kind of a store-bought head quality, they're $75 a 3-pack, but they're reusable, resharpenable, and guaranteed not to bend or break on impact. So if that ever happens, which it could happen, we take care of our customers.
You got the arrows here.
Yep.
And how much is it for top of the line, like a half dozen arrows?
So these are our Valkyrie Rain. We call them Valkyrie Rain. They're lightweight, micro diameter, plus or minus 1,000 straightness. All fully made up. We 4-fletch everything. Fully made up. They're 150 a 6-pack, 300 a dozen. We cut and square. They're made properly. We cut and square everything. We use East and Deep 6 G-Nox. They're like, we just switched over to these a couple months ago. They're stouter, stronger. The throat of the knock is closer to the back of the carbon. There's zero flex.
Yep.
Way more accurate, especially pushing the heavier head weights.
Yep.
You'll notice on a lot of the other ones, like even the Easton G-Knock, which is what we used a couple of years ago, you can see there's a slight flex to it.
Yeah.
Which will add for a little inconsistency.
Yeah.
It's minor, it's tiny.
Yeah.
But it's something. So
I'm using the Fire Knox.
Fire Knocks have zero flex. Here's Brian's Fire Knock.
I love those things.
Fire Knocks are awesome. Fire Knocks are terrible to install.
They
are the worst. But the Fire Knocks are pretty awesome.
That's why I just had the guys down at Wild Arrow do it for me.
So they're best to have professionally installed unless you're really good at building stuff. They're super easy to use. I shoot them every day.
Yeah.
But like all good stuff, super expensive. They cost double.
Yeah.
So we sell them, but they sell them down there. They're like $70 with batteries, a 3-pack.
Yeah.
But I shoot them all the time. They last me 2 to 3 months shooting them almost daily. Batteries are $10 a 3-pack.
Yeah.
So you don't need dummy batteries or anything like that.
Once
just
you have
shoot
it
them lit.
installed, it's easy to.
Once they're installed, they're awesome.
Yeah.
So you just, I mean, I don't know why I'm promoting Fire Knox,
I know.
but they're really awesome.
They're just cool.
Well, but in the G size, one thing you need to note, well, in our G with the micro diameter, the G size, the 165 to 166 inside diameter, like the VAPs or the gold tip Pierce or our arrows. The Fire Knox, the only knock I know of right now that's not weak and have a lot of flex. Like, you know, a lot of the other ones that's just too skinny in here. They get too flimsy in the back and they create a little inconsistency. And what we notice is the group size like instantly growing.
Yeah.
So we try to think of everything. I mean, this might be too much for guys, but I mean, we want to build the ultimate arrow.
Yeah.
If you're using lighted Knox on a G size, micro diameter, that's the Fire Knox the only way to go.
I just have so much confidence in the whole system, just seeing what it does, shooting through brush, blowing through animals, end to end, the entire length of the animal.
Shooting in the wind.
The wind.
Penetration in a crosswind is phenomenal.
It's just special. It's legit.
Yep.
So tell me, what do you got over there for sharpening the heads?
Super easy. That's one of the things I could never do was sharpen broadheads. So we built, and that's one of the stipulations I wanted with our 3-blade broadhead. It's easy to sharpen because you sharpen 2 blades at once. We created a wheel kit that allows you to sharpen 2 blades at once, so you could actually use your hunting heads, your actual arrows, your number one, or whatever, your quiver full of your hunting arrows.
Yep.
Shoot them at your clean foam. Hopefully you don't miss.
Never.
No. So after shooting, you could shoot with if you're using the titanium series with that 60 to 61 Rockwell, you can shoot a couple dozen shots.
Yep.
Still shave hair.
Yep. Which I've done.
The foam has to be clean. If you got dirt in there, that's why I tell you no dirty arrows. But I mean, if there's dirt in there, it'll take your edge off. But as soon as you get these doled up a little bit after a few dozen shots or a shooting session, you can come back in. You can use the grit wheel. You mount these wheels on one wheel on each side of a grinder, a benchtop grinder.
Yep.
The wheels spin away from you. You take the mounted broadhead, 2 blades at once. As he's spinning away, you just drag 2 blades at once.
That's it.
That's it. So you use the grit wheel. You put a little wax on the grit wheel. You do the grit wheel to grab it on your nail a little bit, create the edge. Then you move over to the paper wheel. Use the white rouge on the paper wheel. This is where the nastiness comes, and the smooth sharp that goes through bone like butter.
This is where it becomes a lightsaber.
This is where that's true.
I know.
This is the edge you can't get by hand.
I was using it in turkey hunting, and anything I touched in that stupid blind just disintegrated.
Well, this is why guys are sticking it through themselves and stuff all the time too. But then with that paper wheel, the more you just whatever you do to one side, you do to each side. This is spinning away from you at high velocity. You just drag it. This is like stropping your broadhead thousands and thousands of times in seconds.
Yeah.
So then you get this smooth, sharp mirror finish.
Yep.
The more you do the paper wheel, the sharper and sharper that gets. It gets to the point when you get them. Another thing, when you get our heads new, these aren't sharp. These have been handled forever. But they will pop. They'll just pop hairs off. And so when you couple that with a 60-degree bevel, there's no edge roll, there's no chipping, there's no nothing. These go through green game bone like butter.
I know.
So most guys don't even know they hit bone.
No.
When you shoot, because in the beginning when we were doing the prototypes, I was like, question I asked, guys like, I shot a hog. I'm like, did you get any bones?
Yeah, I know.
They're like, no. And then when they're cutting them up, they're like, holy crap, we blew a femur in half.
I broke both bare bones through the bear. Shot my mule deer or my mule deer.
Mule deer took some bone actually.
That one just
Wasn't that the offside shoulder?
Yeah, offside shoulder. After going like 90 yards.
Yeah.
And it broke the onside rib. Broke the rib, went all the way through, hit the offside leg bone in the thickest part.
Yeah.
And then just exploded it and went through the body and past it and then into the ground.
So then how was the broadhead after that?
It looked like nothing had happened to it.
Brian went and picked up and shot it some more.
Yeah.
You could shoot it more of that. So even if it is a slightly dull, in seconds you're back. Just don't forget the jag wax. But
what do you do if you're in the field?
This is what I wanted to ask about the jag wax, because I don't see anybody selling anything like this for broadheads or promoting it.
Well, No, I don't think anyone does. But here's I made Jagwax because we use high carbon tool steel. This stuff will rust in a day if it's unprotected. Just like a good knife or any high carbon tool steel.
Yeah.
Any moisture it will rust. But we use the high carbon tool steel to maximize our hardness and edge retention and sharpness. Anyway, but it has to have protection. I used to use Vaseline. It was real good in Alaska and a lot of places.
Yep.
But Vaseline has a tendency to melt off if it gets hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it gets hard in the cold. Like when we're hunting like minus 10 in Canada, that stuff is like hard wax. So it's going to reduce your penetration. It could cause trouble for you. I wanted that same protection. So we built, this is like a silicone grease we put on. You only need a light layer, and I'll do one for you. But all we do is take a dab of that stuff, just a little dab on your finger.
Yep.
And when you dress the broadhead, so I just put a little bit on the finger. Then same thing as here. On these broadheads, you always go backwards. Never forward.
That looks scary.
Forward bad. No, but backwards you could do it all day long. We do this hundreds of times a day at the shop. Right there, and you don't need to gob it on. Once you get it, see how it looks kind of gobbed. Then all you do is thumb it. Just that thin film.
Yep.
I tested this 2 years ago in Oregon on the coast for the whole season. I put broadheads in my quiver. I only used the first one. It's Oregon. You only get like one anyway. But and the one I was taking in and out, I kept an eye on. The other 5, I didn't even look at the whole season. It was really rainy two seasons ago.
Yeah.
Damp all the time, rainy. I pulled them out end of season. They looked just like that. And I hunted, I've hunted quite a bit 2 years ago. And they were still shiny sharp. So one of the things, if you're using a tight spot, though, you got to preload the hood with that rubber.
Yep.
Because it'll squeegee off the Jagwax, and some guys are getting rusty tips from sticking them in the tight spot. Other than that, that's it. That
the penetration is incredible, too, though.
The penetration is, this will aid in penetration a little bit.
Like when I shoot, I know when I shoot foam and I have Jagwax on, it seems to go almost all the way through.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's still, and you'll notice when you get this on your fingers, you want to get it off, but then you'll be dropping stuff. It's super slippery. It'll feel dry. You're like, oh, I'm fine. Then pretty soon you start dropping. I've dropped tons of stuff with it.
Cool. But, Sweet. Where can people find Valkyrie arrows?
ValkyrieArchery.com. All one word.
See that?
Yep.
Here it
is.
is.
If you got questions,
Brent,
you
Hahn.
can call or email us. We try to get back to emails even at these shows.
Brent at ValkyrieArchery.com. That's your email?
That's the emailer, yep. Brent at ValkyrieArchery.com.
And you have a system where people can buy like a test.
We do the 2-arrow test kit. If it asks you questions about your setup, your personal setup, and he's going to ask you for an arrow length, you got to measure first. And then once you get that, you can go online and order a 2-arrow test kit to see what it's all about. We'll send you 2 complete arrows, or you can get them bare shaft if you want.
Yep.
Just components. But I tell guys to get 2 complete arrows. The grain weight will be written on the arrow. 3 different head weights. Most guys will want the lightweight head kit. It's a 180, 200, and 225.
Yep.
That'll give you your arrows between 450, for average guy, between 450 and 525 overall arrow weight. And all the combos you get will be 19 to 20% plus FOC. They're all awesome. It's just which one's best for your setup. And that's why I highly recommend that. Thank you. Hey, you're welcome.
Look at that.
We got a dead buffalo right here.
Sweet.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, this is incredible.
So.
I love it.
Yep.
So if you want to support Brent, you can also get a hat or T-shirt. Valkyrie hat or T-shirt.
We got those down here.
It's pretty cool.
Yep. Our logo's not too bad.
It's a cool logo.
Yeah, I like it. First instant I saw it, I'm like, that's our logo. The guy's like, you want to look at it anymore? I'm like, nope.
That'll do.
That's Valkyrie. We even have the Viking center pin built in right at the top of the logo.
Nice.
So.
All right, Brent.
Hey, thanks
for
Brian.
coming on the podcast.
Yep. I got the greasy finger.
Careful there. All right.
Use that later.
Stay gritty, folks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.